Of course, don't forget, I did tell you who my guest is, so we get straight into the conversation. My guest is the State Director for Human Rights and Accountability Network, an acronym known as CRAN, Otwekong Franklin Isong. Otwekong, away from that celebratory moment there, let's get straight to the conversation proper. Otwekong, you have a Senate president from the South. What is the benefit of his emergence to Nigeria as we discuss this dispensation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? I'm going to get used to it.
Yes, you see, the significance of Senator Akpabio's emergence, number one, has put to rest the rumored plan to Islamize Nigeria.
Especially the Muslim ticket.
Yeah, the Muslim ticket of the president and the vice president. And then people started speculating that, the politics is now tilting towards the northern agenda, the Islamic agenda. So Akpabio's emergence as a Christian first will douse the tension and then begin to allow the Christian to feel belonging, that this government, the government of the APC, the government of Nigeria, is not a government of one ethnic or one religious, inkling. Now, having said this, the major achievement that it will bring to Nigerians is that you are seeing someone who, on his own, is a performer, someone who has that acronym, uncommon transformation, transformer and the rest, and so coming to head an arm of government. Now, people have speculated to say him coming from the president, like he was the president preferred candidate, that it was going to be the rubber stamp kind of the National Assembly. It was going to be the yes senator or yes senate for the president. I don't think so. Why do I say this? Akpabio is one man that would like to put an imprint, that would like to leave behind his achievement in the Senate. And don't forget that if he did not perform as a governor of Akwa Ibom State, he wouldn't have had anything to use to campaign even in the Senate as a senator.
So that became his CV?
Yeah, a CV for him. And so, having been made a senator and then he now became a Senate president, he will know and he knows that he has to perform. And that the Senate shouldn't just not be that Senate that will be passing every bills and every motions and approving every loans for the government, but it will be one that will be vetting every request made by the president or the executive, must pass through thorough scrutiny, must pass through thorough, eagle eye before they are approved, before budget are passed. This idea that we've had in the past Senate, budget padding, I wouldn't want to see it repeat, because now you have a man who has been a governor himself. He knows how budgets are prepared and sent to the House of Assembly for passage. And so when the budget is sent to him, I want to see a Senate that will be able to vet and ensure that there is nothing like padding in the budget. And I want to also believe that youth agenda, thank God for Mr. President who has signed into law the youth fund, the bill, now an act to fund the student loan. This means that the government has the youth at heart. We want to begin to see budget laws that are going to be made towards empowering
a more
people-centric and people-centered laws that will be made. Now, is it possible that the National Assembly can be more engaging, like we had in the 8th National Assembly when the Saraki-led Senate was always antagonizing more like and engaging more on the executive, inviting and summoning the leadership of the executive to appear more. You will see inviting the president, inviting this and this and this to appear. Will it be the same thing in this particular regime? I don't want to believe so. I want to believe that there will be more lobbying. Lobbying indicates that, in the sense that if there are disagreements between the executive and the legislature, the National Assembly, the president has someone that will be the liaison officer between the National Assembly and the president. And the person that is most likely going to emerge, as we've been told, we are looking forward to seeing the person being announced officially as the president's chief of staff, is someone who also, we believe, is someone who was in the National Assembly, that is in the House of Reps. Going by the speculations in the air that is going to be the former speaker, Femi, then if Femi becomes the chief of staff, then it will make it more easier for more engaging.
Femi already is the chief of staff.
I'm just saying, because he has not been officially sworn in. So when he's now sworn in, and then you can now see a president who was a senator, the vice president who was also a senator, the senate president who has been a former governor, the chief of staff who has also been in the lawmaking. So you can now see more like the balancing of scales. It becomes more robust engagement. So you will not have restiveness. You will not have antagonism. You will not also have a disagreement, because they know how to lobby and get things done constructively. Now, that being said, even though where there will be disagreement, it will be done maturely and constructively and more objectively. It won't just be because we need to speak out for Nigerians to see us as speaking out. They will engage and disagree in the public and go behind and say, we have to do it because we wanted to win the public's perception. That is not what I want to see. I want to see a more people-centric National Assembly, a more people and human-oriented laws that will be made from the Senate and in the reps. More importantly is the issue of our review of our Constitution, which is the cardinal point of democracy, which is the bedrock and foundation of democracy. We have said over time that we have over 63 items in the exclusive legislative list that need to be decongested and brought to concurrent list and the residual list of our Constitution, so that you can now have issues like power, like airways, like road, like transport, like petroleum and the rest, being removed from the exclusive list to concurrent list, so that you can now see let's even assume you need power in the state. State government that has like Akpabio say, for instance, that has Ibom power, can't distribute. You only produce power and you give to the federal government to go and distribute. You want to go into the deep sea port, for instance, using the Ibom deep sea port in Akwa Ibom. You need approvals from the federal government before you can go into it. Whereas you are a federating unit of the system. So going by the word federating unit, Federal Republic of Nigeria, you need to allow the federating unit to also breathe. Now going down to the grassroots, you have the local government system that is dying. The former president tried to see how to revigorate the local government by coming up with the NFIU policy, saying that the funds of local government should be paid directly to the local government by passing the joint account, which has become the witchcraft that has eaten the funds of local government system. The section 162 sub 5 keep on serving as the bedrock that has continued to destroy the local government system. Because when the funds of local government are deposited in the state joint account, it no longer, whatever the state government feels is what they give to the local government. So in most cases, you will have a council that is deserving of 200 million. But what is given to the council is a paltry sum of either 10 or 20 million. It doesn't actually go. And then the council can actually compete among themselves. And you forget that every politics is local. You must go to the grassroots to develop your people. So I think that now having the likes of Senator Akpabio in the Senate and the president, who has also been a governor, who when he was a governor of Lagos State, he created 44 local government councils, which was called area councils for development, will now allow that we will now have local government autonomy, full-blown autonomy for the local government system, because this is a tier of government that ought to operate independently. Now you now go to judicial autonomy. Also, you now need to have judicial autonomy, that the judiciary can now be able to exert her own authority and speak out when there is need without fear or favor. You now also have the legislative autonomy, so that the National Assembly can also be able to be independent without going cap in hand, begging for funds. That will not trickle down to the state level. where the state assemblies can be going to the governors to beg for funds. And when the governors say, no, we won't give you funds because of your actions, that will
Or maybe
affect,
because you
that
never
cripples-
supported me.
Or perhaps the governor did not want you as the speaker, and you emerge against his wish. You now choose to stifle the funds of the lawmaking
More like
assembly.
what President Tinubu faced when he was the governor
Exactly.
of Lagos.
So that is the point. So we need to allow our democracy. Now, when you call it nascent, we have passed the era of nascent. We are now an adult.
Well,
our
actually,
democracy is an adult.
I refer to it as fragile.
Not fragile.
Fragile in a way because of the way
of
we've been
23
playing
years.
politics.
You know,
of
we
late.
are now 23 years.
Yes.
We have witnessed successive 8 elections. From 99 till the last election we had is 8. So it's no longer fragile. Nobody can tell you that military will take over. Military can't come anywhere near. The fear of fragile has passed. The fear of nothing has passed. We are now an adult democracy that can actually, breathe. So what we are saying, in effect, is that Akpabio's emergence is a welcome development because it will unite the country and also cement every argument of ethnic divide and religious arguments.
There was something you said for me, which is unity. Akpabio has been prided as a man that unifies. It was recorded to his credit that he was able to build bridges beyond the Akwa Ibom state when he was governor. He had friends everywhere. He has several chieftaincy titles. But being the president of the Senate, he's a senator for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senate president for all. Can he give that nationalistic outlook that can calm frayed nerves, if there exists such, and of course, bring about inclusiveness, which has been the conversation before now? Can he bring that to bear?
Let me use the instance of the Akpabio as a governor of Akwa Ibom State. I saw a man who go beyond borders. I saw a man who never see party lines as the basis for development and appointment of people that he choose to work with. I saw a man who never allow his ideology to influence and becloud his sense of judgment and development in the state. This is a man who allows you to express yourself politically, and then, if need be, he reach out to you. I gave you an instance when I was on radio program with you this morning, and I told you this is a man who, as a sitting governor, his opponent will go on radio, state-owned radio program to speak, and then when they are speaking against him and his policies, he will go to the same program to clear the air, and then thereafter in the evening or night, he goes back to that person and explain to you his policies. Let me give you another example. I personally, took on him when he breached the protocol of the former governor of the state. I was not happy about it, and I made a statement against it. In the night, he reached out to me and explained his dilemma, why that incident happened.
Which you didn't know.
Of course. So that is the part that everybody would like to see of a leader who will not say, allow him to continue to attack me, or allow him to continue to hold his opinion. But he will reach out to you
and explain
personally to explain, to say, this is why this action is done. This is why this policy is in place. Severally, I had occasion when we, pick holes in his policies and programs, and he will personally call. Most times, he will engage the media. He will do press conferences. When we go, he will call you out and say, your report that you made, this is what happened. He's engaging you directly. And that is how it has always been. And so, having said this, I see a Senate president in his own speech, like he said, that in that particular chambers, nobody is hearing party, coloration. You are there as a senator of Nigeria, and as you pass through the door of the Senate into the chambers, your party flags, party logos, party polo t-shirt are dropped outside. And like I said in the morning, for us to be able to grow beyond politics from year in, year out, we need to also allow, after elections, after politicking, we allow development to thrive. And then how do we achieve this? We fly our party flags half-mast. the party's activities.
Politics is done, is governance now.
Subside. We reduce politicking, subside all political activities, and promote development, promote governance. You can engage the government constructively in government policies now, not party ideology. You should even have a shadow government as party who wanted to be the government, but you lost out. Then when the government come up with policy that you feel is not okay, you come up with your own idea. Now you are trying to advise, and so your ideas can also be used. Most of the times, what we in the press and civil society do, it helps the government. Severally, I have engaged the government by way of doing symposium, workshop, and roundtables, advocacies, engaging the government policies, and then the government will now revise and adopt what we are putting out by way of our advocacies. So that is why we are all stakeholders. So the Senator Akpabio emerging as Senate President, for me, is going to further bridge the bridges, build bridges and bridge gaps between political lines. I can tell you that in the next 100 days of Senator Akpabio's Senate Presidency, you won't hear of any party mentioned on the floor of the Senate, because it's going to ensure that everybody is a senator of Nigeria that will speak for Nigeria. And one thing that he said, which I picked key in his acceptance speech, was when he said that there will be a Senate President for all. He will stand by all members and stand with all members. I want to see a Senate President that will carry all members along. Even Yari, who contested against him, like he said in his remarks, that is also going to carry him along in his policies. Let's see in a few days what will happen. Let's see in the committee that will be formed. Let us see how people will be carried along, because that is where we now know the kind of person who is the Senate President. I know that he has a mindset that is very broad and light-hearted to embrace everybody.
Before we conclude this conversation, you've given some very fantastic analysis there. I must commend you for that. However, in carrying people along, there are fears that certain persons, in the bid to appease them, you probably just give them positions, not because they have the capacity for it. You talked about him carrying people along. You want him to appease people, or rather than give persons who have the capacity to handle, committees?
In setting up committees, this is the vehicles that will, accelerate development and achievement of his leadership. And so he needs to appoint people who are competent. Mind you,
who can do the
everybody who is in the Senate is competent and represent his own constituency. And so, but everybody cannot be an engineer. There are those who are lawyers, there are those who are doctors, those who are engineers. So when constituting the committees, you should be able to put up a committee that will be called select committee, that will now sit and look at the profile of every member. So you can now say, okay, this person is qualified to be this. Even though he is in party this, he should chair it. That is the merit. And when that is done, you are now placing capacity above mediocrity and above sycophancy. Because when you want to patronize someone, even though the person is not fit, you give him that office, the person will end up not being able to function well because he's wearing an undersized or oversized shoe.
My guest has been Otwekon Franklin Isong, the State Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network. Otwekon Franklin Isong, thank you so much for coming and for providing very, very useful conversation to this particular program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ike.
Well, this is where I leave my nugget. Finally, he who the cap fits, as they say, let him wear it. We're happy as South Southerners that the cap fits you, Senator Godswill Akpabio, Senate President of the 10th Senate. However, the expectations are high. Many people are looking up to you, and as my guest has said, carry everybody along. Nobody doubts your capacity because you were able to do it in your days as governor. Replicate that uncommon touch that you bring into governance and administration. That said, I want to thank you, the